everyone, I'm Transformers Fanco 328 here, and my god is it hot in here. I suppose it's my own damn fault with a computer constantly running and my window shut and my door shut. And obviously I'm not going to run the AC because I'm recording a video right now. Speaking of, Q&A. Let's get right into it. I'll admit I wasn't getting as many questions as I was hoping for, but to be fair, I did kind of spring it up out of nowhere, so I'm kind of surprised that I got questions that are actually quite beefy when you get down to it. And yes, I have a jumbo pen. Don't remember where I got it. Might have been a dollar store or something. Surprisingly still has ink after all these years. It's actually what I use to write these questions down on my notepad. Timothy Shoemaker asks, who's your favorite commentary tuber? I'd probably have to say Manga Common, because aside from being the one that basically inspired me to really get back into commentaries, he is probably one of the few commentators that just gets right to the point while still providing good commentaries. Now, this isn't to say that I don't like the other commentators that I'm subscribed to, Annabeth Ride, Ryan Rhino Mills, and so on. But at the end of the day, they oftentimes like to have these opening sketches and storylines or some shit that really tend to distract more than entertain. Now, if those opening bits entertain the rest of their subscriber base, that's perfectly fine. But oftentimes, even if I can get past it, the actual commentary kind of loses me and I click away. But that's just my take. And even then, Manga Common is certainly not perfect. That co-op with Gale Force was pretty underwhelming and overly long. Seriously, Gale Force went on a long tangent about Pokemon Stadium simply because Dobbs used fucking Pokemon Stadium footage to illustrate the horn drill when he was talking about red, blue, and yellow. But I'm getting way off topic here. On to the Q&A. Thomas Factory Untold asks, will you do another commentary on Ryaso, otherwise known as Mr. Cup of Fail nowadays? You may recall that I did a commentary on 2 of his videos, one of which was actually a collaboration between 2 of his buddies, Ian Gorix and Tumalord. Well, they actually did 3 lists, one of which was the top 10 Hero Factory sets that I mentioned in the commentary. In that particular video, they ended up labeling the Witch Doctor set as their #1 best Hero Factory set. Star Potter, who now goes by Russian Box, a guy that the 3 of them tend to disagree with, particularly on G2 Bionicle, made what was essentially a response to that by making a rant on the Witch Doctor set. Ryaso then made his own commentary in response to that, arguing his side of the story and argue against Star Potter's arguments, and then Star Potter himself made another commentary on that video and
Space is warped and time is bendable.
In all seriousness though, Tom actually requested this of me a few months ago and I never said anything about it. So here's your answer, Tom. I actually watched Ryaso's side of the particular argument when he uploaded his and felt that a lot of what he said was fairly sound and logical. Russian Box, on the other hand, was a bit odd to me. I wasn't really following what he was saying very well and I didn't feel most of his points were really that valid. I wanted to make a commentary on that, and I even checked it again when you sent the link to me. And to be quite honest, I didn't find enough material for me to make it interesting or really that informative. I wasn't enjoying making the video, and probably most relevantly, one of the big no-nos of making commentaries is talking about videos that are several months old or a significant amount of time has passed for reasons such as irrelevancy, bringing up old drama, and probably most realistically, the creator's opinions would probably have changed in the intervening time span. So I felt that making the video just wouldn't be that worth it. Sorry I didn't speak up earlier, man, but yeah, there's your answer. Though I suppose I will compensate by giving my opinion on the Witch Doctor set. I like it. It is the biggest toy in my entire library, and it's actually really enjoyable to pose. There's a lot of really cool design elements that I really like, and it's actually very creative in its execution. It's not without its problems, particularly the odd gappage in the arms and to some degree the legs, but in all honesty, I find the set really cool. Definitely a highlight of the Hero Factory series. And I'd say trust me, I'll get to that, but to be quite honest, it's been a while since I've made a video in general. Well, not counting the commentary or the announcement, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily count on me to do that. Although I do intend to talk about it sometime. Zachoris Venkson Davidson, who was in the last Q&A, asks, are you a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, the fact that I've used Yami Bakura as an avatar should kind of indicate that I'm at least familiar with the franchise. And the answer is kind of complicated. You see, I actually was a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid. I loved the anime, I loved the card game. Like I said, I even got a video game based on Yu-Gi-Oh! alongside my PlayStation 2 and Kingdom Hearts when I got it for that particular birthday. But like I said, I didn't play that game very much. And it was around the time when GX and even 5Ds was around that I didn't really keep up with the series anymore. Not that I hated it, but I just kinda lost it. It didn't help in my case, where I was fairly irresponsible with my cards. Particularly, I left them when I was staying at a hotel and my father came over for a visit one time, and I never got them back. And I have not picked up another Yu-Gi-Oh! Card since. Not necessarily because I was traumatized, more so because I just wasn't as invested in the series anymore. Though, to be fair, I haven't picked up a Pokemon card set since Generation 5, so... My interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Kinda revitalized when I found the Abridged series, but I still haven't kept up with anything since then. Arc 5, Brains, or some shit like that. I don't know anything about anything beyond the original series, and maybe GX. I just haven't really found the time, or really the interest, to check out the rest of the series. The Bowser Prime asks 2 questions. Have you been watching Robots in Disguise, and if so, what do you think of it? I'm assuming this is referring to the 2015 series, because they're probably not asking about the Car Robots anime. And yes, I do watch it. And yes, I do happen to really enjoy it. I like the personalities they give to each of the characters, I like the development that they go through, and I like the particular concept where the Decepticons are sort of a rogue element as opposed to a unified unit, which actually allows the individual Decepticons to really shine as far as their personalities are concerned. Thundove as the Decepticon Mafioso was my personal favorite. I also found it interesting that they used basically the Fallen for the season finales, for the first season finale's villain. Last I saw of it, it was when Starscream got involved and tried to gain ultimate power of some sort like it usually does, through the mini-cons or some shit like that, but I haven't kept up with the show since then, and I know it's on, like, what, 4th season or something? I'll definitely catch up with it at some point, but for now, yes, I do happen to really like the show, and I would give it a recommendation. It's essentially the main Transformers cartoon for now, and at least it's pretty good. And the second question is, do you watch RWBY? And if so, which volume do you think is the best as of now? Well, the fact that I've expressed interest in reviewing RWBY, not to mention the RWBY references I make, do kinda indicate that I have seen the show. And yes, I like this show too. I like the characters, I'm interested in the world they set up, the action scenes are pretty cool, the music's great, but I've had issues with this show even since the first volume. And I'm not just repeating common fan complaints, I've had personal issues with the show. Particularly some of the awkwardness of the animation and some of the pacing issues, and to be honest, the character development and motivations are pretty weird. Some of them are present, sure, but RWBY doesn't really show any form of development until the very end of the 4th fucking volume! The way she behaved at the beginning of Volume 4 in no way indicated that she went through some seriously traumatic shit back in Volume 3. Quite frankly, they were better off calling the show Juniper than RWBY because they had much more interest in developing them than they ever did with any of the main characters. Like I said, RWBY doesn't get a single fucking bit of character development until the end of Volume 4! But of the volumes currently available, I would probably have to say my favorite one is the 3rd one. Mostly because this is where I really felt that the characters' personal motivations were being tested, and that the situation was seriously dire and epic and intense and had a lot of awesome and memorable moments. My heart was racing and I was on the edge of my seat for every episode following Fall. Hell, during Fall was pretty damn intense. And I was not calmed down until after End of the Beginning. But even that still had its issues. But I'd rather not go into further detail. I've already gone into a mini review before I mentioned this. So, yeah, there are my thoughts on RWBY for now. Again, I'll go into further detail when I make the review proper, but yeah, I like it, but it's got problems. Johnster6804 asked me to please do a top 10 Fire Emblem Fates characters. It's not really phrased in the form of a question, but I still accept it, especially since I've gotten so few. But to be honest, it's pretty hard to do that when I still haven't touched the game since I made that review, and probably will not for the foreseeable future, if I'm going to be bluntly honest. But even within my first playthrough, I only happen to really like 3 characters out of the whole lot. Takumi, Keaton, and Shura. Which is pretty sad in regards to the latter, because he's easily one of the most underdeveloped characters in the whole goddamn game. There is no denying that, because he only gets a support conversation with the player character. Ever. Not even the DLC maps help that. I happen to like Keaton more on a superficial level, werewolf kind of guy. And even so, he was actually pretty boss in my Conquest playthrough. But then again, I did mention that I pretty much dropped the Phoenix mode after Chapter 13, so I really have no place to talk about that. But yeah, Keaton was like one of the few units that wasn't constantly getting his ass kicked. And Takumi I like, again on a somewhat superficial level, because he was literally the only royal sibling. The only one that ever had some form of doubt towards the player character. At all. Not to mention, he really redeemed my opinion on archers and Fire Emblem. But even these characters that I happen to really like, all of the characters, including the Awakening trio, which I don't count because I liked them from Awakening, though I do like their development in this game, even if they're rather irrelevant to the overall story, every character is ruined because of the implementation of the second generation units, making every single one of them irresponsible, neglectful dumbasses. These guys are next in line for the throne. I'm surprised they're next in line to get a fucking game console at launch. You especially, because you were trapped by King Garen your whole fucking childhood. Why would you subject your child to basically the same thing? Yeah, my opinion on Fates has soured far more the more I thought about it, even though I still have not found the motivation to replay it. Quite frankly, you can see why. But quite frankly, Seanster, when I first got this game, I said that I had intentions to do either a countdown or a review depending on my opinion on the game, or if I felt I could really do either one. Why do you think I did the review instead of the countdown? Finally, Angry Walrus, another previous questioner, asked me 2 questions. Have you ever had a strange but unique experience with a game? Actually, I have. The funny thing is that I just actually got done with a Proud Mode run of this game, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix. Actually, it's not necessarily this particular run, more so my personal experiences with the original game in general. When I was young, Kingdom Hearts kicked my ass. Hard. There were actually a few specific bosses that I remember giving me the most hell from my childhood. Clayton's Stealth Sneak, Ursula's first fight, with the Cauldron and her friggin' eel buddies, Lock, Shuck, and Barrel for whatever reason, and probably most damning of all, Maleficent Dragon. In fact, the Maleficent Dragon kicked my ass so many times when I was a kid that I, in some bizarre logic, decided to stick it to the game by deleting the save file from that point. The only joke I played was on me because, well, to be quite honest, that meant I lost all of my goddamn progress and had to do the whole goddamn game from scratch, including all the bosses that kicked my ass hard. But, you know what? I still pushed through, I still beat them, and I still beat Maleficent Dragon in the end by abusing a strategy where I just stood on top of one of those sharp vines and just mashed triangle to allow Donald, Goofy, and or Beast to attack Maleficent Dragon while I was in a safe place. Even when the fires were kicking up, I could still, attack or block in order to make sure that they wouldn't hit me. The hilarious thing about my playthroughs of 1.5, none of the aforementioned bosses kicked my ass. At all. In fact, I royally beat all of them. Except for Maleficent Dragon, who still managed to get 1 KO on me, but then I was able to bounce right back. Even on Proud Mode. I still love the first game, but what the hell is with this minimal instruction booklet? Like, there's nothing here. At all. I mean, the original instruction booklet was colorful and gave you a lot of detail and such, and then this is just like nothing. The fuck is this? And lastly, also, do you have any favorite movies? Actually, I have quite a few. My 3 personal favorites are Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Pacific Rim, and Deadpool. Deadpool in particular is my favorite comic book movie of all time. Great characterization, hilarious dialogue, awesome action. It's a friggin' wonderful movie. As far as other movies I've liked, I really enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises. Sure, I feel it kind of falls apart near the end, but the other portion of the movie is so good and so epic and investment-worthy that I just can't help but get sucked into the amazing pacing and atmosphere and just awesomeness of this movie. Although, like I said, it does kind of fall apart near the end. Particularly the point where Batman's like... Honestly, that shit made me laugh my ass off, even in the movie theater when I first saw this movie. Of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, my favorite movie of Phase 1 is Captain America the First Avenger, my favorite movie of the second phase is Guardians of the Galaxy, and my favorite movie of Phase 3 so far is Doctor Strange. I watched it on Netflix. My two favorite Disney movies are Tarzan and Moana, which is another DVD purchase I gotta rectify, and the animated Transformers movie from 1986 is still awesome. And I'm very glad to finally own an official copy. An official copy that I have not properly opened yet. Parental guidance suggested PG includes scenes of fantasy violence and mild language. And death! Tons of gratuitous, violent death! Again, not as many questions as I was hoping for, but at least I was able to get a lot of discussion out of those questions. I'm Transformers Fanico328, and